Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon and welcome to the Fitness Center Skaterama for this fantastic and final event of our Celebrating Self season for 2020. What are we? 23, 24. We made it all the way through. We're there. Yes. Or you could cry a bit. It's the last one of the season, but it's been an absolutely incredible season. And with that, I do need to thank the Hamilton Community Foundation, the City of Hamilton, ArtsWave in Cincinnati, and the Ohio Arts Council for the sustained support of the Fitness Center. Thank you very much. To our friends here at Hamilton Caster, our event sponsors today, this event could not possibly happen without you. That was a ball-bearing joke. Couldn't happen without them. Casters. All right, moving on. Cha-chas at the 13th. As I said, it's the end of our season, and with that, we would like to thank our series sponsor for this year, for Celebrating Self, Ms. Kathy Klink. Thank you so much, Kathy, who has been absolutely awesome. We really do appreciate the support. We do have a fantastic season lined up for next year, Celebrating Self. In fact, we will be starting with pickleball out in our parking lot. We've got some fantastic events lined up. If you would like to be involved in that and supporting and partnering with the Fitness Center, I am sure that Anita will be able to have a conversation with you and talk about all of those things. She's at the salad bar right now. But Anita Gunn will take care of all of those things for you if you have any questions or if you'd like to introduce somebody to the Fitness Center. We do really appreciate all of that support. Lots of things coming up at the Fitness Center over the next couple of weeks. We have an Eagles show this weekend, but that's sold out. But after that, we have a Bollywood show. Fantastic dancing and music and saris and color and movement, working with the fantastic community here from the country of India and South Asia, coming into the Fitness Center later in April. And then, of course, in our ballroom to finish the season, we've got Drag Show 3 coming in, and that'll be happening on May the 11th. So lots happening at your Fitness Center. Please tell your friends, come on out. We're not done yet. A busy April and a huge May as we finish things out and head into our summer camps. Yes. Thank you. So about a year ago, we told the world via social media and some press releases that we were going to turn the Fitness Center into a skating rink. We were going to take down all of the wood paneling here, we're going to put it on the floor, we were going to put glass in, and we were going to turn this into a public skating rink. People were so excited until they realized that it was April 1st. On April 2nd, they weren't as excited, and they were really quite angry at us because we weren't doing that. They really wanted a skating rink. 1 year later, the Journal News printed an article about this upcoming event and had the Cincinnati Rollergirls coming to the Fitness Center, and they printed that on April 1st. So you reap what you sow. So it's been a lot of fun getting this all together. Huge thank you to our team here, our events team, our facilities team, and everyone involved to get everything together today. Something a little unusual, a little fun. Everybody was talking about their home skating rinks. Mine was Skateway in Mount Gravatt in Brisbane, Australia. That's where I did my skating. And when I first came here and I saw my first roller skating rink here, I said, it's made of wood. And my wife said, of course it is. What was your skating rink made of? I went, concrete. She said, that would hurt. I went, it did. But I think when you get into roller derby, it might hurt just a little bit more. The wood might have a little bit of give, a little bit of bounce, but we're going to hear a little bit more about that, about roller derby, about the fantastic names that they have and the incredible work they do out on the rink, but also throughout the community. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome to the stage Ursa Mamer.
Good afternoon, friends. Thank you so much for coming. For the record, yes, concrete does hurt a lot when you hit it, as I do often. So real quick, I want to talk to you about my favorite time interval. I know that's a weird thing to have a favorite of. This floor might kill me. This is going to be a good time. 5 seconds. So when you're playing roller derby and you hear those words, it's usually very loudly. 5 seconds! It's like that. It's wild. Two most scary and exciting words in my life. Because when you're on the roller derby track and you hear those words, that means all hell is about to break loose. You get about 5 seconds to breathe, the whistle blows, and then roller derby starts happening. Roller derby is a full contact sport played on quad roller skates. It's one of my favorite things in the world. I do it with some of my favorite people in the world, and I am really, really excited to be here to tell you about how it works and why it matters so much to me. So real quick, here's the setup. Each team has 2 jammers. Those are the folks with the stars on their helmets. You're gonna see my friend Ripper here is our jammer for today. They score points, so when you're watching roller derby, you wanna keep a close eye on these folks. They score points by passing the opposing team's blockers. We're gonna demo this in a second, so if it doesn't make sense, you'll get there. Each team also has 4 blockers on the track. One of those blockers is special. They wear a striped helmet cover. My friend Crystal will be our pivot for the day. We call that person the pivot, and the pivot gets a superpower. You'll hear a little bit more about that later. Once that 5 seconds is up, and the jam start whistle blows for the first time, the game is on. There is 1 hour of gameplay, 2 30-minute periods divided into intervals we call jams. Those can last up to 2 minutes each. When each jam starts, the jammer's job is to get past the opposing blockers on the other team. The first jammer to exit the pack also has a superpower. That person is called the lead jammer, and they can end the jam by tapping on their hips like this. If no one does that, a jam goes for 2 minutes. If that sounds like a lot, that's because it is. There are usually 10 skaters on the track at any given time. An average crew of officials at a roller derby game is 16 people. A fully staffed crew is 19. There are referees on skates who watch the action, call penalties, keep gameplay heading in the right direction, keep everyone safe. There are non-skating officials who keep track of stats, run the scoreboard, do the paperwork, keep track of penalties. The stats books for our games are 15 pages long. So you're gonna see us skate. Skating is cool, skating is awesome. Also important to note that roller derby officials are also heroes. It's a complex game with a ton of moving parts. Sometimes folks are actually really surprised by the level of strategic thinking you need to play roller derby. See, because both teams can score, both teams have to play offense and defense at the same time while we're trying to murder each other on skates. So a lot of contact sports have a puck or a ball. Roller derby has a person, an extremely, extremely brave person. And I didn't even talk about the violence yet. We'll get there. The glorious violence of roller derby. We're not like tackling and punching each other like you might remember from derby decades ago, but we are definitely not being super nice to each other when we're on the track. So when I tell you that I have a Pavlovian response to the phrase 5 seconds, now you understand. It doesn't matter if I'm on the track or not. When I hear someone say 5 seconds, my heart rate goes up, the adrenaline starts going. All of a sudden, I've got my head on a swivel looking for offense, and I start looking for an open legal target zone so I can ruin someone's day. I am a lot of fun at parties. The sport has changed my life. I never miss a chance to tell someone about it, so thank you so much for having us here. As Ian said, my name is Ursa Mamer. My pronouns are they, them. You can call me Ursa. I'm a skater for Cincinnati Rollergirls, and I'm also one of our coaches. And as you can see, I brought some friends with me today. Let's hear it from my friends. Number 33, Junie B. Bones. Number 154, Crystal Whip. Number 711, Payne Austin. Number 603, Fitzkrieg. And number 100, Jackie the Ripper. And I am 116. All right, let's learn how to play roller derby. We excited for this? All right, I'm gonna try to get off this stage with myself. First thing done. Awesome. All right. So as I said, roller derby is a full contact sport played on quad roller skates only. You can officiate on inlines. You cannot play on inlines. If you look up here, you see our legal target zones and our legal blocking zones. So my friend Crystal Whip here, if I just want to ruin Crystal's day, where it says legal target zones, those are the areas of her body that I am allowed to target when I go to hit her. If you see legal blocking zones, that is the areas of my body I am allowed to use to initiate that contact. We do this to keep ourselves safe. It is an aggressive and violent contact sport, but we do not like injuries. So if you do one-on-one blocking, usually that means something has gone wrong. But I'm going to show you what that looks like just so you can see what it's like to do contact with those constraints. Real quick, can I have a volunteer from the crowd to hold my mic and my slide remote? Amazing. Thank you, friend. We're going to be best friends by the time this is great. So when we set up on a track to play a game of roller derby, often we set up in a formation that is called a tripod and a swing. My fellow friends wearing black here, can you join me? So we call this a tripod. This is a group of 3 skaters. We sometimes call these folks the 2-wall. Sometimes we call them butts. We call this friend here the brace. And the idea is for them to push and pull each other around the track to prevent a jammer from getting past them. I am what we call the swing. It's my job to cover the areas of the track they can't, and maybe play offense. Now, as we demo here, keep in mind you're only seeing half of the equation, because there are 2 groups of blockers and 2 jammers on the track at any given time. Now, we're gonna go like 70% here because space is tight. We don't want anybody to get hurt. But you're gonna see what this looks like. Oh, also, can I have a volunteer to be an official? Anybody? Amazing. Come on up, friend. All right, so when derby's about to start, we hear the magic words. What are the magic words? 5 seconds. Beautiful. So my friend, you do. So my friend here is going to say 5 seconds, count to 5 internally, and then just yell tweet. I don't have a whistle for you because that would probably be gross. Yep, just yell tweet. That's what we do when we don't have a whistle, because that's the whistle blow. Yes, after 5 seconds. Okay, so my friend here is going to be the official. My friend here is going to hold my stuff. So there's 2 sets of that going on at any given time. You can imagine how chaotic that gets. It is so much fun. You will notice my friend Crystal is over here on the other side, wearing the same color as my friend Ripper here. Remember, Crystal is the pivot. She's wearing the stripe on her helmet. And remember, I said the pivots have a superpower, and I'd talk about that later. So here we go. If Ripper is engaging us, and Ripper gets stuck and just, oh my gosh, I'm getting beat, I'm not gonna be able to get out, there's nothing I can do. Ripper can take off the star cover, pass it to Crystal. Crystal's now the jammer. Superpower complete. Crystal now gets to score points. So again, imagine this with twice the number of people. And that is roller derby. So, penalties are also a thing in roller derby. Remember I showed you the legal blocking and target zones? A really common penalty is using the wrong one of those. You get sent to the box to think about what you've done for 30 seconds, and then you can re-enter the track and hopefully act better. So, let's, black 603, forearm! So Fitz is now skating to the box to think about her life. And now, if you see, there are only 3 of us on the track. The jammer's life gets a little easier. Our lives get a little more difficult. My official friend, you ready? Yes. So you see, Ripper had a much easier time of it that time, right? So again, when our jammer gets out for the first time, that person is called lead. So if they want to call the jam off early, they can do that. And there's a strategy here. Because again, remember, there are 2 of them on the track at any given time. So say Ripper gets out, Ripper's got her 4 points. The other team gets out, does not have their 4 points. Ripper can be like, call the jam off. Ripper gets 4 points, the other team gets no points. Sorry about your life. And then things get really wild if your jammer gets a penalty. Because then think about, there is one team dedicated solely to offense, one team dedicated solely to defense, and things get very interesting. The other thing to think about is when you're hitting a jammer, if you're doing really well, you will hold on to your jammer. Let's do a tripod. And Ripper, let yourself be held onto for a second. Ready to go? Yeah. Let's do it.
5 seconds. Tweet.
So if you're doing really well as a tripod, you hold on to your jammer, and that jammer is just having the worst day of their life. They live right there from now until eternity. But if you're doing really well, really, really well, you might knock that jammer out of bounds. We have a quasi setup track here. Be very, very careful. Don't hit any of our friends on the outside. And when that happens, the jammer has to skate back in behind the person that hit them out of bounds. So the person that hit them out of bounds can run back roughly 20 feet or so, take all of that space away from the jammer, and then they are even sadder. They just completely live in the sad place from now on for the rest of their lives, it feels like. Ready?
5 seconds. Tweet.
Easy. Woo! All right. Amazing. You made it through without anybody getting hurt. That's great. I love that. So now you know the basics of how roller derby works. Give it up for my friends. We're good? All right, I'm gonna get back up on this stage without hurting myself. This is gonna be good. Done. So, now you know our job. As a spectator, I would like to talk to you a little bit about what your job is. So there are 3 really, really important things for a roller derby spectator to know when you go to a roller derby game. When your jammer gets away from the pack, you cheer. When there's a really big hit and somebody goes flying across the floor, you go, ooh. And then if it looks like someone gets hurt, when it turns out they're not, they get up and they skate away and they're okay, you clap very enthusiastically. Right? All right, so let's give this a shot. We're gonna practice. Can we do this? All right, your jammers just got out. All right, somebody just hit me and I went flying 15 feet across the floor. And it looked like I got hurt for a second, but I really just needed to shake it off. I get up and I skate back to my bench. Fantastic, well done. So now you know our job, you know your job. The next thing is to get a ticket for April 13th, our home opener at Queen City Sportsplex. It's our Pride Night. We're going to be playing against Vet City from Bowling Green, Kentucky. They're a great group of skaters, really cool folks, and I'm very, very excited. So, next up, if you don't mind, I'm going to tell you a little bit about why I play this sport and why it means so much to me. But before I do that, one more time, please give it up for my friends. All right. And if you don't mind, I'm going to gear down while I talk. So, about 6 years ago, I thought to myself, I need to find a sport to play. I'd worked really hard, gotten in pretty good physical shape, and I started really, really hating going to the gym. I wonder if anyone can relate. And I thought, gosh, I'm really proud of the work that I've done. I feel really, really good. Going to the gym's not fun, so if I'm gonna stay in shape, I should probably find a sport to play. Because if it doesn't stay fun to stay in shape, I'm just not going to. So, on a whim, one evening, I went to the skating rink with some friends from work and realized like, hey, you know what? I'm actually like elementary level good at skating. Like I remember skating parties from elementary school days. Anybody just remember that? Cool, not just a millennial thing, great. So I posted some pictures on social media of that, as one does. If you notice, I only have one selfie face. It's a thing I'm working on. But I was proud of myself because it had actually been like literally since elementary school that I roller skated. So I felt pretty good about that. And then this happened. So when you join in roller derby, just saying, always need more peeps in the cult. And that was not the first time it had occurred to me that roller derby might be the thing to do. I'd heard that it was a particularly inclusive sport. I'm a transgender person living in the Midwest, and while I do not love having to worry about that, I do in fact have to worry about that. So I did some research and I saw, the rules of the Women's Flat Track Derby Association make it clear that trans folks like me are welcome in the sport of roller derby. No group or organization is perfect, of course, and a policy is definitely not a guarantee, but that was a great place to start. So I took the chance, and I haven't regretted it. So I started building my skating chops. I was going to the rink once or twice a week after work. I ended up making my first derby friend before I even had the chance to make a practice. Her name's Widget. I ran into her at the skating rink randomly one night. She'd started learning derby recently around the same time as me, and she told me I should go with her to one of these open Monday night practices that we do, where they teach basic derby skating skills. So I started going, started making friends, meeting cool people, learning how to skate, learning how to hit people. You'll notice a theme. It's a thing that I love. And I worked hard. I made progress for like 6 or 8 months or so. And before I knew it, I was cleared for contact. That is the day that happened. We were such babies 6 years ago. And I will never forget my first practice doing full speed, full contact. We did this drill where we would set up, and remember I was talking about the 2-wall over there? So we would set up in a 2-wall, and somebody would set up behind us, about 20 feet behind us. They would skate at us going full speed, full bore, and we had to simply absorb the contact. Yeah, sounds like a great time, right? So I need to tell you, friends, being hit for the first time like that is a moment of clarity like few others I have experienced in my life. I don't remember who my partner was in the 2-wall, but I remember very well who hit me. Her name is Wheezy. See, they know. She was my first derby coach. Nowadays, I'm really, really glad that I call her my friend and my mentor. But that night, she was just this very charismatic, seemingly nice, but very terrifying person that I had met a few times. So the whistle blows, she takes off, and I am right here just ready, not ready for what's about to happen. And I am convinced that the linear flow of time paused briefly when that contact occurred. And before I knew it, I was on the floor. I'm sure I made some awful noise as gravity did what gravity does, and then the floor did what the floor does. And we all have these moments in life where we're like, gosh, I think my life has forked here. I think things are just different after this moment. And more specific to my situation, I was like, am I even gonna get up off this floor? Am I gonna call it a night? I'm sure I'm not injured, right? Nothing feels broken. It just hurt a lot. And I'm laying on the floor feeling very, very humbled. I don't wanna worry anyone. I should probably get up. Am I really gonna keep doing this? Should I go home? This is just a bonkers thing that I am doing. What is happening? And it felt like minutes. I'm sure that was just a few seconds that all of that happened. But I was losing it internally. I took a deep breath, I got up off the floor, and I set up to do it again. And I thought to myself, she is not going to knock me down again. That's the one goal I'm setting for myself. I will stay on my feet. Friends, I did not. It did feel a little less scary, though. And you know what? The third time, I did stay on my feet. I started that night feeling incredibly, impossibly small, and I left that night feeling like I could do anything. I was hooked. There's obviously lots of reasons people do sports, right? It's fun to push yourself, push your limits. You learn a lot about who you are when you do stuff like that. And of course, shared adversity is a really great way to make friends. You come into a thing new and you're surrounded by these like super talented, strong, experienced athletes, and it's humbling. You really have to come to peace with the fact that like, yeah, I suck at this right now. That is just the state of things. But if you put in the work and you let yourself be coached, it builds you. When I played football in middle school, our coaches would insult us by calling us ladies or using homophobic slurs, putting us down, yelling and berating. And for a long time, I thought that's what coaching and learning looked like. You push people out to the edge of their limits forcefully. You make them grow. When you're on the receiving end, you just take it and say, yes, sir. You get made small by the words, and then you push yourself to be big by winning. And I gotta say, if that's what it takes to be great, I don't want to be great. When I started playing roller derby, I learned what it means to be built and shaped and molded by coaches and teammates who actually cared about me. And when I think about this, I always think about Wheezy first. Remember the person who put me on the floor in the previous story? The other thing she did a lot was pick me up, metaphorically and literally physically off the floor. She spent a lot of time talking about what it looks like to communicate thoughtfully, compassionately. Being honest and mean are not the same thing. And I'm gonna say that again because it is an important part of how I live my life. Being honest and being mean are not the same thing. And I kind of already knew that, but Wheezy really taught me what that looks like in real life. When you feel safe enough with someone that you can have those hard conversations, you didn't make the roster, you're not quite the skill level you thought you were, you have XYZ things to work on, the right person can tell you those things, and you'll still leave the conversation feeling better. Because you know, beyond any shadow of a doubt, it's because they want you to be better. They know you have it in you. And so instead of bullying you into your best, they build you into your best. It changes you, and it changed me. And before long, I played my first game. That was something real, real special. And of course, because I worked really hard to get there, and it's this amazing, incredible thing that we do, but there was more to it than that. I spent most of my 20s playing in bands, and we got to do actually a lot of cool stuff. We signed to a small indie label, we toured a little, we played some festival shows, a few hundred kids came to our CD release show, and there's just not much that makes you feel as cool as that. And playing music with your friends, there's hundreds of people screaming your band's lyrics back at you. Didn't matter, tiny, smelly club, gigantic festival stage, you just feel cool. And mournfully, I stand before you not a rock star. When it was over, I was sure I would never feel quite that cool again. It definitely wasn't like an, oh, my life is over moment. I had perspective. It's just a really special thing that I got to do. Not a lot of people get to do stuff like that. And I wasn't sure I would get that particularly special, this feels so cool feeling again. But you know, all good things come to an end. All of that, I had the time. Lots of people don't. I will be grateful for it, and I will move on to the next thing. And it turns out the next thing was my first roller derby game. I had a great season. Here's me at my first Pride bout with David Bowie makeup and the trans flag colors. My friend Noah did that. Love her. And up top, you see here the first time I got well and truly demolished in a game. Let me tell you, friends, not a great time. But something else really, really important happened during that game. I got this mug. See, at the end of each game, you get together with your team and you pick MVPs for the other team. It's a cool thing to recognize the person who caused you the most problems in the game. It's like it's what we're all trying to do, right? And awards can be almost anything, like coffee mugs, candles. I got a handmade unicorn sleep mask once. That was a lot of fun. But there's this snazzy little coffee mug from Circle City. They're one of the teams in Indianapolis. And I did not actually win this award at this game. My friend Loco did. And she deserved it. We were short on skaters. Some folks couldn't make it. Someone had to drop because they weren't feeling great. So we were all playing a lot. We did not get many breaks. Probably the most tired, exhausted I have ever been in my life. I met and pushed my limits hard that day. But my friend Loco won MVP Jammer. She deserved it. She was incredible. I skated back to the locker room, I collapsed onto the bench, and was just thinking real hard, again, about my life decisions. You do that a lot in roller derby. And she skates over to me, Loco does, with her award in her hand, and she says, hey, you know what? I think this is the first time you've ever been through something like this. You didn't quit. It was incredible to see, and I think you deserve this. And she gave me her MVP award. It's the first one I ever got. And it's the one that no matter how long I keep playing derby, it will always mean the most to me, even though it wasn't the other team that gave it to me. Played another great season after that one, and then COVID happened. Turns out derby doesn't happen over Zoom. So when COVID shut things down, I struggled. And I need to say I have perspective here. Lots of people experienced much, much worse than I did. But shortly after I started to feel at home with my new thing, and I started to feel it coming to the center of my social life, it got pulled out from under me. We did some cool stuff to stay connected. We got together virtually, we played Jackbox, we watched TV and movies. I made some attempts at staying in shape doing workouts over Zoom, and I hated every second of it. My friends are great, to be clear, but working out with other people via laptop, just not my thing. To put it charitably, I was in a really, really bad place, and I started drinking about it. I was on Zoom almost every night with Widget and another close derby friend of mine. Their name is Deathy. And in fact, we are derby wives. This is a thing we use to describe your best derby friend, your derby wife. Widget, Deathy, and I are in a three-way derby marriage. It's a complicated web that roller derby gets you into. We got close on Zoom watching Steven Universe, She-Ra, Letterkenny, Schitt's Creek, jump into a Zoom with a Jack and Coke, some s'mores ice cream, do the thing. And over time, it became some more Jack and Cokes, and maybe just the Jack. And of course, we made it through COVID, and it's party time. Derby's back. I can hang out with my friends again. We can all go drink together. Good times. I bet you know where this is going. I had one bad night. Everybody has one of those from time to time. And then I had another. And then another. And while this was all going on, my marriage was also falling apart. Deathy and Widget were my rock. They gave me their time, their love, and their attention until it was clear that I needed more than that. That stuff about having hard conversations with love and respect, that's not just for derby, right? It's for life. And I will never forget what Widget said to me one night. She said, Ursa, I gotta tell you, it sounds like you are trying to convince us to tell you that your marriage is over. And friends, I am not sure which is harder, a shoulder to the solar plexus or that. But when it's coming from someone who actually has planted their shoulder into your solar plexus, maybe you're a little more receptive. Roller derby helped us build that relationship where that conversation was possible. We'd had hard talks. We've been through wild things together, road trip together. When I'm in Cleveland, I stay at Widget's parents' house, even when she's not there. We're that tight. That night, Widget knew what the right thing was. She knew how to say it, and she knew she could say it. And I knew how to receive it. My marriage was making me miserable. Widget and Deathy helped me end it. Derby helped us build that. And then just a few weeks later, the bad night happened. I was at a show, blackout drunk. It was a rowdy show. I was trying to get in the pit, and I kept falling down. And I only remember this in bits and pieces. But eventually, a security guard came over to me. He was so nice. He said, hey, you know, some folks are worried about you getting hurt. Can I get you over here out of the pit, over to the side? You can finish watching the show. He led me over to the side to finish watching the show. And that sounds pretty innocent, right? But I was a mess. See, the thing is, I can't stand the idea that I have hurt, inconvenienced, or made other people uncomfortable. And my body was so full of Jack Daniels and Fireball that I had convinced myself that I had ruined the show for at least dozens of people that night. I was inconsolable. My ex-wife, who is a deeply good person, by the way, want to make that clear, ended up having to play caretaker that night, 2 weeks after I asked her for a divorce. She shouldn't have had to do that. 2 weeks after I asked her for a divorce. Widget and Deathy shouldn't have had to make 3 a.m. phone calls to talk me down. I was so distraught and incoherent, they thought that I'd beaten someone up and I was getting arrested, or that I'd been sexually assaulted, or just something terrible had happened to me. But when I was that drunk, communication was not possible, so they had no idea. I finally got into bed, Woke up the next day. Weirdly, I didn't have a hangover. And the bits of memory that I retained from that night hit me pretty well immediately. It is a special kind of guilt, knowing that you scared people you love that way. It sits on you. I had a few texts checking in on me. I confirmed that I was physically okay at least, and then I got the message that I thought might be coming. Deathy and I are coming to your house at 7:30 p.m. tonight. It wasn't a question, it was a statement. I didn't argue, I knew what was coming, and I knew they would be right. You hear about interventions in popular media sometime. You probably even know the phrases. We're not angry, we're just concerned. We're here because we love you. We think you have a problem. And there's nothing that quite prepares you to be on the receiving end of that. If this had happened a few years earlier, I'd have tried to convince myself that I was fine. Yeah, something bad happened, I had a bad night, but I got a handle on it, it's all fine. It's a classic thing people struggling with addiction say, because it doesn't feel good to know that something has gotten the better of you. Their timing was good, though. My particular problem was not that I compulsively wanted to drink. It was more that when I started, I didn't stop. So it seemed like the logical thing was to hold on to that bit of control while I still have it. I just needed to not start. And then if I found that difficult, I needed to get help. So we agreed that we were going to stop drinking as a group for 30 days. And I was into it. There was no way that I could look at my life honestly and say, yep, status quo. Everything's fine. We're good. So 30 days passed. I talked a lot, let my friends know when I was struggling so I could be held accountable if I messed up. But honestly, that first 30 days wasn't super difficult. The more difficult thing was the guilt and the shame. But the shame was all self-imposed. Derby helped me build these relationships where that kind of honesty is possible. That kind of vulnerability isn't seen as weakness. Needing help is not a shameful thing. That's part of the entire reason we build relationships like that. I tried to flirt with drinking once again and had a close brush with another bad night. Thankfully, this time I just got really sick. Wasn't pretty. Woke up the next morning feeling awful. I went to derby practice the next day, and while we were warming up, I was skating around the track slowly, and I was looking at each of my friends that I do this amazing, incredible thing with. And I thought to myself, I have so much to lose. And if I didn't stop, I would lose it. I've seen this cycle. I know how it works. If I don't stop, I will lose this. And the only option I had left was to quit. And as of last month, it's been a year. So now I'm a coach. And that's terrifying. Coaches are often the folks who really set the tone for a team, right? And to be clear, we are a team. We have lots of people in different leadership positions. We have 2 skater coaches, 2 bench coaches, a training committee, a leadership team. That's not everyone, but that's a pretty good list. It's absolutely not on one person or even just a few people. But if you're a part of the group setting the goals, running the practices, having the hard conversations with people, you're in the position to make or break a culture. It's scary. So I'm one of our skater coaches. My friend Kristinite is the other. She's another just hardcore skater, smart, thoughtful, strong as hell, not real fun to get hit by. But we're doing this thing together, and it's real rad. It's a full circle thing. We started pretty close to the same time, and now we're part of the group that helps make the thing happen. I know my sport pretty well. I'm not the greatest expert. I know my stuff. But there is a pretty big difference between knowing your stuff and it being your job to know your stuff. So when my friend Fitz here told us that she thought we should be coaches, I sat with that for a second. I thought about not just what I get from Derby, but what I still want to get from Derby. I turned 40 this year. You saw a bit of what this sport looks like. You will not find it surprising to know this is not a thing you do forever. I know 40 is not old, but I am also increasingly aware that I am not a child. So what am I actually going to do with this while I still have it? I don't have plans to retire anytime soon. Hopefully I've got at least a few years left. But an injury could retire me this weekend. It happens. I don't want to make it like it's a Disney movie. Roller derby is not magic. It doesn't replace therapy, self-reflection, communication skills. I worked on all that stuff outside of derby too. But I just want to reiterate, we hit each other on roller skates. very hard. God, what is there left to be afraid of? At best, Derby can give you the tools to be better, and it's helped make me better. I'm in a pretty good place now, so what's the next move? Pay it forward. It's my turn to show up and be that person for my friends. I want to build people up. I see my job as a coach like this. It is not my job to push you. It's my job to get you to push yourself. It's a subtle difference, but it matters. I could yell at people, make them feel small, tell them if they were really tough, they'd do the extra rep, skate the extra lap, whatever. Maybe it would work for some people. I don't think it would feel very good, though. It definitely wouldn't for me. I've been around long enough to see what happens when you believe in someone hard enough for long enough. It's contagious. You spend enough time telling people they're good at something, my God, at some point, they might just start believing it. It's the most exciting thing in the world. 1 minute, they're holding onto the skate rail for dear life, wondering if this is really what they want to be doing with their life. And the next minute, they are flying into a pack full of skaters at full speed with their hair on fire, putting their body on the line to get that one extra point. There is absolutely nothing like it. My mentors and my friends have poured their strengths into mine to help me be better, and I want to pay it forward. So maybe years from now, the folks Chris and I and the others are helping teach, maybe they'll think back on their time in Derby. They'll remember that someone, in fact, a lot of someones cared a whole lot. Not just about them as players, but as people. People who go through divorces, get injured, lose loved ones, people who accomplish incredible things in Derby and in life. If we're at our best, they'll remember that we were there to love them through the hard stuff and celebrate them through the good stuff. Hopefully they'll think about those things, and they'll make the choice to do that for someone else. And that, my friends, is why I do what I do. Thank you. Q&A time, yeah?
Questions. Can I start with a question?
Yeah.
Of course I can. The names.
You got the mic. That means
Do you
you're in
get
charge.
to pick your name? Do you get christened a name? Is there a fight over a name?
Yes, to all of those questions. So roller derby names are one of the things that has survived from roller derby decades ago, where it's more of a persona, it's more of a show, that sort of thing. That sort of thing has survived. There used to be a cultural thing where you had to earn your derby name. We don't do any of that now. Basically, you get a derby name as soon as you like one well enough to call yourself that. My name is an astronomy pun, if anybody is into astronomy. Ursa Major, Ursa Major. Yeah, okay. A few people get it. Some people skate under their real names. Some people do punny references to things they like, comic book characters. I tried desperately to find a Star Trek name that I liked because I'm a Star Trek nerd, and just nothing came to me. So yeah, that's derby names. As soon as you pick one and you say, "Hey, this is my derby name," people will just start calling you that.
Coming across the skating floor. Hold on. There is skate rental available in the Vista room. Free skate to 2 o'clock.
Do you play to a clock, quarters? How do you?
Yeah, we play in 2 30-minute halves that are divided into what we call jams that can last up to 2 minutes. Worst 2 minutes of your life. It's very difficult.
How much time does it involve, like in a week? How much, practice and all that?
We practice 2 nights a week. We practice 1 night a week and 1 morning a week. So right now we practice Tuesday nights for roughly 2 hours, and then on Sundays we do a practice and a scrimmage that adds up to be about 3 hours.
Where do you practice? Is it like on a skating rink, or is it in a
Yeah,
gym?
we practice at a skating rink in Cincinnati.
I just wondered how old the girls were when they first started.
Oh, there's a very, very wide diversity of that. Some folks start in junior roller derby, so like as young as like 10 or so. And when they're that young, obviously they don't do full contact the way that we do. But they play a version of roller derby that is more about just like trying to skate past people and maybe some light contact and some light pushing. I was like 33 when I started. So pretty wide diversity of age ranges. And I turned 40 this year, and I'm not the oldest person on my team.
Sue's gonna make me work for it. Hold on. I need skates. Oh, come on, is this thing on today?
You're doing a great job.
I'm sure I'm not the only one who wonders, what do you all do for day jobs?
Also, a very wide diversity of those things. We have folks on the team that are stay-at-home parents. We have folks who work in marketing. I'm an audio engineer. I make podcasts for a living. It's a just very, very wide diversity of folks. I think if there's a trait that we all share, I think we're usually all pretty nerdy in one way or another. I'm not the only Star Trek fan on my team, for example. Lots of like comic book and superhero fans, that sort of stuff. But there's definitely not a typical roller derby skater in terms of like what you're like outside of the sport.
How much of the year do you play or do you practice? Or how much are you off of the year also?
Yeah, it changes a little from season to season. We kind of make the decision at the beginning, like how many home games do we want to have, how many away games do we want to have, and then we build our practice schedule around that. It's usually January through like September or October with a fall break in the middle.
With your equipment, with your skates and your helmets, is that standard, or is there a roller derby store or place that you go for roller derby equipment that is different for your average weekend skater or person going down the street?
A lot of skate shops will carry roller derby stuff. There are also specialized retailers. There's a website like derbywarehouse.com where you can get a lot of this stuff. But it is standardized. Like I said, quad roller skates, knee pads, elbow pads, wrist guards, mouth guard, and helmet. Some folks also wear like hip and butt pads or chest protectors or shoulder protectors. That sort of stuff is allowed, but it's not required. That's a thing that some folks will choose to do just based on what their body needs.
Anyone else? You're all very quiet today. Going out the back.
Yeah, back in the day when they were televised, the roller derbies, they were more on like rings, like wrestlers.
Yeah.
Do you guys still skate on things like that, or is it all on flat surfaces now? And why did they switch that?
Yeah, it's all flat track. The reason why I don't know the like inner decision making for the reason why banked track derby is still a thing that exists. It's far less common than the flat track version that we play. The rule set I think is not exactly the same, but it's pretty similar. But obviously having the bank track changes the dynamics a lot of how contact works. So that kind of roller derby still happens. But it's their track I think is shaped roughly the same as ours, but just banked.
So I had heard that you all make six figures doing this. I'm wondering, how does that work?
No, we actually, I think there might be a few skaters from like the top teams that have roller derby as their job, but for the most part, like we pay dues to our league, we buy our gear, that sort of stuff. It's a thing that we pay to do.
You kind of took my question, but what kind of an investment is it then for you, to put out? Because it's, you're paying for your plane tickets, I take it, and your travel and all of those expenses.
Yeah, we don't fly that often. I'm actually flying to New Orleans to play this weekend. I'm very excited for a Transgender Day of Visibility bout with another team. Very excited about that. That'll actually be the first time for me. Most of the time we get together and we carpool. We do road trips. I think the farthest we're going out this season is about a 5-hour drive. But just to give you some numbers, if I remember right, my skate and plates were like $550. These wheels are, and these are kind of expensive wheels, but I think these were like $90 for a set of 4. I also bought some really nice bearings. They were like $100.
Have you met our friends from Hamilton Carts to here? Or
yeah, we're gonna talk with them later.
If you're looking for we're
gonna talk with them
an
later.
endorsement deal.
These are knee pads that are made specially for derby. I think I paid like $80 for those. Elbow pads were like $40. My wrist guards are $20. I think the helmet was like $70. So it is not an inexpensive sport to get into. But we do keep a stash of loaner gear. So if folks want to try the sport out before spending all the money, you can come and borrow some of our gear to make sure it works for you before you lay out all the cash.
Hi, Fred.
Hello.
Are there tryouts?
There are. Is it April 21st? Follow our social media, Cincinnati
I'm just
Rollergirls.com.
asking. Just asking.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely tryouts. And I would also recommend, if you're on Facebook, you want to give it a shot, there is a group to join called Monday Night Derby. We do these open practices where it's just like basic skating skills. With our skating rink partners, sometimes they have events and it gets canceled. So if you're on Facebook, join that group. You'll see that's a good place to come to start learning. But yeah, I think our next round of tryouts is April 21st.
There's also boot camps as well.
Yeah, boot camps.
Fundamental skills. Sorry, there's also boot camps where you can come and like learn the fundamental skills and things. The way I started was actually by coming to like a Monday night kind of open practice that they were talking about, and they teach you from the ground up because I could not skate at all when I started, and just kind of showed up and was like, how do I do this thing? And they teach you everything.
Yeah, that's a good point. I also, I was not joking earlier when I said I was like elementary school level good at skating. Like I was not exaggerating. I was like, I could kind of stand, I could kind of skate, and I could kind of turn. And you do not have to be a great skater to get started. At Mondays, we start with any skill level, even if that's 0.
Well, thank you so very much. Can we put our hands together
thank
for
you.
the Cincinnati Rollergirls? Fantastic. Thank you so much, Ursa, and the team. We appreciate you coming out, turning this into our roller rink for the first time ever. We're even excited by that. This has been a fantastic day. What a great event for the Fitness Center. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for sharing your story. That's real, and we appreciate it. So thank you so much. This has been Celebrating Self for season 2023-2024. We made it. I get to the end of the poster. That's always a big thing. Thank you so much to the Fitness Center team, particularly to our facilities and events team, to our friends at Two Women in a Kitchen. Aren't they incredible? No less for Kirsten coming up and speaking. And I will tell you that the week after Kirsten spoke here and did such a great job, we had somebody pull out of Rotary, and Kirsten was literally grabbed from the kitchen and was told, "You were awesome last week. We need you to do it again." And got up in front of Rotary in 10 minutes notice. So not only the incredible food, for the fantastic speaking. So it's been a great year. We've appreciated the support. Thank you to our friends at TV Hamilton for the great coverage. You can get that live. You can get that on YouTube, and their Facebook channels do support our local media. They are incredible to us, and we want to support them as well. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, the Cincinnati Rollergirls. And we look forward to seeing you at the Fitness Center again very soon. Have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you so much.